Shivani's in the ring for the blockbuster contract that's signing, and out comes Will Ospreay. The place explodes. He comes in, signs the contract, and then cuts a promo. I'm not coming in just yet. I need to finish up with New Japan, and then I'll be here on the road to Revolution, and states he is all elite, bruv, which is probably going to be his line of merchandise, and says to line up the best you've got, especially for Wembley Stadium. I'll show you what elite really is. And then later he posted a video online for his Japanese fans explaining to them that I'm not going anywhere anytime soon. I'm going to explore other avenues, but that doesn't mean I can't come back, and I will see you all at the Tokyo Dome. So, number one, I think if you were coming in and how big of an announcement was this going to be, this certainly qualified. This is a great coup by AEW to sign this guy over WWE. I think it's a major signing for them.
Yeah, and as a Tony Khan announcement, remember the wording was a pro who all AEW fans know that and respect, completely justified sort of hyping of this announcement.
And then today they were plugging as like blockbuster announcement, so it was upgraded to that wording. And as we've learned, we have to pay attention to these words. Now you could certainly argue that, okay, if we've signed this guy, let's pump out the news immediately. But it also feels as though this was something like we just did this need to be announced on this pay-per-view. This was like our hook for a pay-per-view, and I'm sure it was designed like we want to have a big announcement on this show, but it kind of does pump the brakes that, hey, he's here in a few months.
Sure.
And this, to our point, like last time, like this to me, I don't know. It does feel a little bit like lame duck. I know he can go back to New Japan, but it does really tell you like this guy's leaving, and it's not really leaving it up to much.
Which is why I'm actually more surprised from the New Japan side of things why they would maybe allow not just Will Ospreay to negotiate, but to publicly announce that he will be signing for a rival promotion. I mean, technically a rival, but also a partner. So I think it says a lot.
They probably want to continue business with, but
Yeah.
You're right. Like if I was New Japan and all things were equal, no, you're not announcing this before the Tokyo Dome. Like we have him until February 1st, and you guys can go crazy the second you have the rights to him, but we still have him under contract.
But it tells you a lot about maybe the sort of health of the working relationship between the two companies right now, and maybe for New Japan, like the feeling that, hey, we kind of need AEW maybe more than they actually need us. But I understand maybe wanting to get ahead of the story before like maybe something like this leaks. I think it was a good tactic to push towards the pay-per-view, I felt. And when they have something they actually can deliver a hype promise on, I totally enjoyed sort of like the guessing game actually.
Yeah, I mean from an AEW perspective, I would say from an audience perspective, I think this was the move to make. I think that it's more so just the New Japan end of things that you would look at here.
Well, that's why Ospreay, this promo was so much about like making sure that he's not upsetting either AEW fans nor New Japan fans.
You almost felt like based on the lengths he went to, I like was Ospreay crazy about announcing this now?
I wonder. I don't know. I mean, I'm sure he's ecstatic by now. Like they rolled out the carpet for him with something like this and made him feel like a big deal on day one. So also promoted, of course, All In, attached to him as well.
Like that's a key part too, is the fact that you have the pre-sale, that's the tickets going on sale, and you've pretty much guaranteed Will Ospreay will be in a major match at Wembley. That is a strong reason to get this out now. On top of that,
so also at this point, I mean, of course, there is a third match between Omega and Ospreay that I think we're all waiting for. And now we know it won't take place. It'll likely not take place in a New Japan ring. I don't think it has any reason to.
No, I think it's pretty safe to say that you will not see Ospreay do another G1, at least not while he's under contract here. And if you're Ospreay and you're weighing your options, I mean, this is not a guy that is at a stage of his career where you're looking at, okay, if I sign for, we don't know what the term is, but let's say it's 5 years. He's 35 when this deal is up. Like WWE is not going to be disappearing in 5 years. Like this is not an idea that I'm signing with one group and that will eliminate, like Bryan Danielson choosing to go to AEW or an Edge going to AEW. But you're not going to be able to go back probably.
But the opposite would have been true too, John. If he signed with WWE, AEW would have been there for him too.
But I would say for Will Ospreay, I would say at 30, when he probably feels I've still got, several years of these caliber of matches, I would be doing AEW from 30 to 35 versus the other way around and going to AEW at 35. I mean,
yeah,
things
I'd
can change greatly in 5 years of
Right.
the different companies. He was not going to make a bad choice here when you had both leading companies offering you tons of money, but it's another big signing by AEW. Like, this is not a case where AEW is just getting, developing talent or just cannot compete for the biggest names. They have been able for this year to go in and they re-signed Kenny, they re-signed the Bucks, they have signed Will Ospreay.
I mean, and that's not even including all the other names that we're not even going to mention, like a Kota Ibushi or I guess Ric Flair, if you want to include that too.
You landed Ric Flair in 2023.
Or potentially a Mercedes Moné still to come, right, at the end of the year. So, but maybe to your original point when this whole thing was even teased, is he a difference maker? Does AEW need him?
He's going to be a difference maker overseas. I would certainly cater like more of my first of all, I would not be setting up my calendar where All In is the only show I'm doing there, and not just like piggybacking with a Collision the night before. Like, I think you should go over there more often, and like, time will tell. I think you bring him in and you make him a giant deal right off the bat, and you present him as someone that's on a collision course with the world championship, and maybe that's the big Wembley match. He could be somebody that is like, you can legitimately lay claim to the top wrestler in the world. And how do we promote him in such a way that this is considered like a gigantic signing and a big boost for the company?
And I like your choice of words there, John. With Bryan Danielson possibly leaving the company, you are going to need another face that might be able to lead that second show on Saturday nights, or maybe on another night of the week, and certainly the promise of a weekly Ospreay match for a lot of people might be that reason that they might finally tune in weekly on Saturdays.